The third largest school district in the state enters a new calendar year with a mindset of getting students back on track academically and making sure they're in the classroom. Now, according to the California Department of Education, chronic absenteeism has been classified as very high statewide. That includes Fresno Unified, where nearly 51% of its students were absent over the 2021-2022 academic school year. And following Superintendent Bob Nelson's 3-year extension by the board, he released this statement to Sunday Morning Matters when asked about his primary focus moving forward. In part, he said, quote, "Given that they just graciously extended my contract to 2026, if by that time kids are not substantively moving, it's time to go a different direction. It's not about me. It's about kids thriving. No one person's job, including mine, is more important than the primary goal of kids learning." The superintendent essentially saying if test scores don't come up, the board should fire him. So joining me now, the newest trustee on the Fresno Unified School Board, Susan Wittrup. Welcome. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexander.
You know, obviously, you replaced Terry Sladek following the midterm election, and I'll get to some of that in a minute, but I want to get back to this statement from the superintendent. It was a little controversial, right? Because when you first hear it, it's one or two things, and I want to know how you saw it or how you read it. Was it more of a challenge for teachers to get test scores up, or was it more or less saying, this is my last contract extension?
I think that what he was saying, and in our conversations this bears to be true, is that we all have to have our hair on fire right now to boost achievement, and that's the message to the top administration at Fresno Unified, all the way down to everybody that works there and all of the board members.
So in no way you think it was some kind of retirement prelude?
I can't guess what he was thinking about, but he's been very clear with us in cabinet and board meetings and in our own discussions. His real focus is on targeting attendance, because we have more than 50% of our students are chronically absent from school. Right. That's a huge piece that impacts achievement, and early learning with a focus on reading, which I'm thrilled to hear. And I think that was really primarily what he was talking about, and saying that if we don't make these things happen, somebody else does need to come in and do the job. You talk about hair on fire kind of achievement here, because you've been a school psychologist. This is really your background here for 24 years, if I'm right? Actually, 37 years. 37 years. I just missed a bit. That's okay. Yeah, and so I'm wondering from you and from your background, how far behind right now are kids from the pandemic? 1, 2 grades? I would say that they were behind going into the pandemic, and they're even further behind now coming out of it. So it's not a blanket, everybody's behind this much, you know, it's an individual. Kids individually are behind, some kids are on target, some kids are ahead, but the majority of our kids took a big hit in achievement for reading and mathematics. You know, Bullard High School, obviously your area has been ground zero for a number of controversies. We've had the reported KKK photo, most recently the cell phone policy that went in. How will you approach things differently than what we saw from the former trustee, Terry Sladek? Well, I think that the most distinctive way is that I have solutions. We can all call things out that are wrong. There's plenty of things to call out there. But what are the solutions? That's really what we need to look at and move towards. And I do have a radar about that, and I'm committed to making that happen. On your radar, the cell phone policy, you didn't give judgment at first. It's now been in policy for a couple months now. What do you make of it? We haven't heard too many rumblings. No, I haven't heard a lot of rumblings. I think it's going fairly smooth from the report of Principal Turigian, but I don't know. My goal with the cell phone issue was just to give parents a voice in it, because I really don't feel like I really feel like we can't be successful if we don't have parent engagement, and especially in controversial issues.
You know, I know there's been concern on the Bullard campus being the only campus with what is really a waist-high kind of fence. I know that that was brought up in the Wednesday board meeting. How will you be active here in making sure the district is funding a fence to really protect from outsiders?
Yes. Well, I have to say, one thing I'm excited about is I've already completed a facility walk at Bullard High School with the operations and maintenance team, and the fence rendering is being updated and vetted right now because the prices have changed, you know, over the last few years when it first came out. So we are moving forward with that, and I think that in the next few board meetings, maybe not the next one or the one after that, but coming up pretty soon, you're going to see that fence on the agenda.
I want to ask you about this, and we've all seen the ugly, it's disgusting, the video of the former Fresno Unified principal viciously shoving that little boy to the ground. Obviously, the district is now being sued. What did the district learn from this, and was that racially motivated from what you saw? Because we've seen disparities. We've seen the racial outcry from students and parents.
Yes. I can't make a call on if that was racially motivated. I think that the consensus is that it was not at Walters Elementary School. But for me, what that says is that we need to have a bottom line for harm, and we need to pay attention to red flags with employees, and once that they dip below that line and they start showing that they have intentions that are harmful or practices that are harmful, we need to nip that in the bud right away before these kinds of incidents happen.
So maybe you felt the district didn't do that before.
I don't know what they did or didn't do with this particular individual before, but I do know from my own experience that that's a problem system-wide.
I want to finish with this. Wednesday's board meeting, there was talk of a new school bond measure. Why that is completely premature, and I understand that. There has been talk of somehow upgrading facilities district-wide. Would you be in favor of a bond measure that does that?
Alexandre, our facilities are dilapidated, and in the Bullard region, they're shameful. Actually, in the boys' locker room at Bullard, which I did show pictures of on Facebook during the campaign, and recently looked at them again, there's an apathy that exists in our district where we walk by those things and we don't see them, and that has to change. There's a lot of money in play right now in the school district. I hope that a lot of that will go for facilities, and there may be a bond issue in our future.
All right.
Because we have some very old schools.
So you would be in favor of one?
I would be in favor of that, yes.
Susan Wittrup, Fresno Unified trustee. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right.